Hello everyone, I'm Zenith Warrior Princess, and welcome to Zen Anime, where I take a look at one of the numerous different anime in my collection, and boy, do I have an anime for you today. This is the review that will pierce the heavens. Just who in the hell do you think I am? Simone the Digger is a young boy who lives in an underground village. The villagers are forbidden to leave the safety of their cavernous home and spend most of their time digging new tunnels for people to live in. This is an important job considering the large amount of cave-ins that plague the village and continue to force them deeper underground. Simone has been digging his entire life and is considered the best driller in the village. However, while the chief of the village rewards Simone for his drilling prowess, the villagers look down on him and call him a freak. That is, all except for Kanna, who is possibly the most badass man to have ever existed. Seriously, he could give Zoro a run for his money. Kanna constantly tries to escape from the village and head for the surface world, but the chief stops Kanna every time and punishes him for his rash behavior. At night, as Kanna sleeps in his jail cell, Simone drills some more tunnels and stumbles upon a giant robot face buried in the earth. He bursts Kanna out of prison in order to show him the face, but the chief catches up with them and tries to teach Kanna a lesson. Psh, like that's going to do anything. Kanna's manliness makes your attacks ineffective. It's just science. Hard science. As the village chief continues to be completely ineffective, the whole village shakes from a massive earthquake and a giant robot with a wolf-like face crashes through the ceiling. Kanna gears up to tackle the robot, but then a young girl arrives to tip the scales. This is Yoko, a girl from the surface who uses her gigantic rifle to kick ass and take names, and she's all out of names. Unfortunately, Kanna gets in the way, and the trio are forced to retreat. Simone leads Yoko and Kanna to the robot face from earlier and starts it up using a small drill he had discovered earlier in the episode. While Simone is initially hesitant, Kanna encourages him onward, telling him not to believe in himself, but to believe in the Kanna that believes in Simone. Because of this, Simone uses the mini-robot to destroy the giant robot and drill his way up to the surface. The surface world is just as vast and wonderful as Kanna imagined, full of both immense beauty and terrible danger. There are more giant robots, known as gunmen, which roughly translates to facemen, prowling the surface and killing any humans who escape from their underground villages. These gunmen are piloted by creatures called beastmen, who are governed by a mysterious person known only as the Spiral King. After fighting off two more gunmen, the trio meet up with some more surface dwellers from the Gurren Brigade, or the Great Crimson Brigade in English, and set off to defeat the Spiral King. The story moves at a breakneck pace, upping the ante every single episode, with even larger robots, action-packed fights, manly declarations, and intimidating villains. With the exception of 2 episodes, which I'll talk about later, there is never a dull moment, and each episode is better than the last. The first 15 episodes detail the fight against the Spiral King and his generals, and the anime could have just stopped there, and it would have been just fine. But they didn't end it there. There is another 12 episodes in this series that raises the stakes even further. In the second half of the series, we flash forward 7 years into the future of these characters, and get to see how the Gurren Brigade deals with the problems of the new world they've created. I can't say too much without giving away spoilers, but there's a twist in episode 17 that changes everything you thought you knew about the series up until this point. This twist makes you stop and think about everything that's happened up until this point, and it makes perfect sense. After a lot of dark, emotional moments, Team Gurren reunites, flies off into space, and fights one final battle against the evil that has been plaguing the galaxy for over 1,000 years. Now, I've talked a lot about the story, but what really makes this anime memorable for me is the characters. Simone is one of the most dynamic protagonists I've seen in an anime. He starts off as a cowardly child who wants nothing to do with fighting the Beastmen, much like Shinji from Neon Genesis Evangelion, but over the course of the series he grows into a real man who is not afraid of anything. What really works about this character growth, though, is that it doesn't happen immediately, and not all of this growth is positive. For the beginning of the anime, Kanna is always there to set Simone on the right path. Whenever Simone doubts himself or tries to run, Kanna is there to snap him out of it. However, something happens in episode 8 that causes Simone to spiral into a deep depression. I'm not going to spoil the details for you, but Simone has to pick himself up and learn to fight his own battles. By the end of the first half, Simone has grown into a man worthy of Kanna himself. He leads the Gurren Brigade to victory numerous different times and becomes a badass in his own right, capable of doing things that even Kanna, with all of his bravado, would not have been able to do. Kanna, on the other hand, is rather static, but that's mostly because he doesn't need to change. He is a mimetic manly badass in every sense of the word, and everything that he does, every single second of dialogue, is memorable and entertaining. Kanna is the kind of person we all wish we could be, and serves as an example for Simone to live up to, but there's much more to Kanna than just that. Later on in the series, we learn that Kanna isn't quite the man we thought he was. In everything he's done, every action, every statement, every victory, he's always considered Simone the hero. Sure, he oozes charisma out of every single goddamn pore of his body, but in his mind, Simone has been the badass. It was Simone who was always there for him. It was Simone who got them out of every jam, and it was Simone who won every single battle. It's this idea that makes Kanna such a deep character. He doesn't see himself as the star of the show. He's perfectly okay with that. He's fine with just being himself, the Kanna that believes in everyone. Kanna sets everyone on the right path and inspires everyone to move forward, and he's certainly one of my favorite anime characters of all time. He's just badass. The other main character, Yoko, is one of the strongest female characters I've seen in an animated series. Now, I know what you're going to say. Zenith, what are you talking about? She barely wears any clothes and she perpetuates an unrealistic level of beauty in females. Well, you see, that's not completely true. Yes, she is ungodly beautiful, but that can be said about most female characters in anime these days. Does it perpetuate an unrealistic level of beauty? Perhaps, but that's a problem with anime as a whole, and not a problem specific to Yoko. Yes, she wears an extremely skimpy outfit, but there are reasons for this. First of all, she's a combatant in a rebel army. She needs to wear something that allows her to move freely, and this is what she feels comfortable in. Secondly, this sort of outfit pokes fun at the Super Robot series of the past, where boobs and naked women showed up quite frequently. However, the most important reason for this outfit is to showcase Simone's development throughout the series. At its core, Gurren Lagann is a coming-of-age tale for Simone. He's an adolescent boy with dreams of grandeur, but doesn't quite have the courage to pull it off. Kanna represents the man he wants to become, yes, but Yoko represents a different side of that coin. She represents the confidence, sexiness, and power that he wishes he could have. This is all viewed through the lens of a teenage boy, and I personally feel they dialed up that sexiness because Yoko is Simone's desire. Not necessarily in a sexual sense, although that can apply by the way he views her, but also in a metatextual sense. He wants to be that bold, he wants to be that daring, but in the beginning, he can't. He can't be that. As the anime goes on and Simone grows up, Yoko's outfit changes to something far less skimpy, and she is a school teacher. Personally, I believe this change showcases how he views Yoko afterwards. He has grown up into a leader and sees her as a comrade in arms and fellow teacher, and that's why her outfit changes later on. In a basic sense, we view everything through the lens of Simone, and as Simone grows up, so too do the characters and the way they look and act. At the end of the day, though, Yoko is not, and should not be defined by the clothing she wears. Yoko is a headstrong, take-charge type of woman. She rushes into battle before anyone else with her rifle, and she even pilots a gunman during one episode. She has her tender moments and is soft-spoken when she wants to be, but she isn't afraid to take on the Beastmen by herself. My main point here is that Yoko is viewed as a person first and a woman second. Those are the main characters of the series, but Gurren Lagann is chock full of amazing secondary characters. There's Liron, the mechanical genius, who is very gay and not afraid to show it. There's Viral, the recurring villain, who has quickly become my favorite secondary character in the series. There's Kitan with his golden gunman, which cuts other gunmen in half with its body, which is freaking awesome, by the way. There's Dayaka and Roshu, Jorgan and Balimbo, Maken and Atenburo, Tetsukan and Reite, and dozens of other characters who all get a chance to shine in every single episode. That's right, these characters are an integral part of the series, and they are always in the foreground, doing something completely epic. Fighting giant mecha in space? Check. Grouping together to take on a gunman hundreds of feet tall? Check. Everyone gets a chance to do something, and I simply love it. In terms of voice acting, both the English dub and the Japanese sub are phenomenal. The actors are often loud and in your face, but they're never annoying, and they're able to switch between bombastic silliness and serious pathos with relative ease. While all the VAs do a great job, there are a few standout performances here. Kanna is voiced by Katsuyuki Konishi in the sub, and by Kyle Hebert in the English dub. Konishi really gets across the likability, fervor, and the sheer craziness of Kanna, but I thought that Hebert did a slightly better job. Hebert may not be as fast-spoken as Konishi, but he gives the role much more humanity in my view. Yes, Kanna is supposed to be immensely cool, larger than life, and badass, but for all his boasting, Kanna can't always back it up. He's putting on an act for Simone, and that really comes through in Hebert's portrayal of Kanna. Simone is voiced by Tetsuya Kakihara in the sub, and Yuri Lowenthal in the dub. While Tetsuya puts in a great performance, I personally think that Lowenthal understood the character a lot more. Yes, Simone is supposed to be down on himself for the beginning of the series, but he's the hero of this story. In the sub, Simone doesn't really escape from Kanna's shadow until the second half of the anime. In the dub, Lowenthal does an amazing job of showing Simone's growth into his own person. Again, they both do a great job, I just prefer the dub a little bit more. Also, Steve Bloom does an amazing job as Liron. Seriously, I didn't know it was him until I checked, and that's saying something because he's usually the first one you recognize in an anime. Overall, both the dub and sub are excellent, so it really falls down to personal preference. The animation for Gurren Lagann is simply glorious. Most of the time. For 95% of the series, the animation is some of the best in the business, using a variety of different styles from grim and gritty with thick and heavy inking to bright, crisp, and colorful. 95% of the time, the action is incredibly well drawn, fast-paced, and a visual marvel. However, with that being said, there are 2 episodes in the series that contain some of the worst animation I have ever seen. In episode 4 and 6 of the series, the animation devolves into a puddle of what the hell am I watching? While episode 4 was completely directed by guest artist Osamu Kobayashi and is only somewhat bad, episode 6 is an animated monstrosity and is simply painful to watch. Still, with the exception of these 2 episodes, Gurren Lagann is always trying to impress you with its visuals, and it usually succeeds. Every single pixel of animation, with the exception of those 2 episodes, is oozing with passion, energy, and concentrated awesome. One thing that really works for this series is the design of the gunmen themselves. Each robot has a unique design that reflects the personality of their owner. In other Super Robot series, that would be enough, but Gurren Lagann goes the extra mile by giving each robot a different face. Now, this might seem trivial at first glance, but it adds a lot to the series overall. The faces of these robots can move in accordance with the pilot, which gives a lot more humanity to the gunmen themselves and makes them seem much more alive. This also gives the animators more opportunities to showcase the gunmen fighting instead of having to cut back into the cockpit for every bit of dialogue. Most important of all, this makes the gunmen feel much more like extensions of the pilot than just tools of battle. Instead of being giant mechs that the Gurren Brigade use in battle, they become important members of the team, and you feel for them as much as the rest of the characters. The music of the series is an eclectic mix full of hip-hop, heavy metal, jazz, pop, and full orchestrated pieces. Now, that might seem like an odd mixture, but it works every single time, both for the mood of the scene and the tone of the series overall. The opening theme song is one of the best I've seen in an anime to date. Not only is the song catchy, upbeat, and memorable, but it evolves with the series itself. After something major happens in the anime, the visuals of the theme change along with it. I can't go into too much detail because of spoilers, but just pay close attention to the opening theme in episode 9. The second half of the series features a new theme song, but instead of feeling like a brand new song, it feels more like an evolution of the original theme. And that's because it is. Instead of a completely new theme song, they use the second half of the full opening theme. This makes the opening theme feel like it grows with the show and characters, and I simply adore that. I wish more anime used this technique, because some opening themes just seem tacked on these days. Both of the ending themes rock, but I have to give special mention to the second ending theme, Mina no Peace, because it's happy-go-lucky and catchy as all hell. Seriously, I find myself humming this theme song randomly on my way home from work all the damn time. Overall, this music is incredible, and I really wish I had a copy of this soundtrack. Now, I've heard from several people that Gurren Lagann is, and I quote, an incredibly stupid show, end quote. After watching through the series twice through, I can honestly say that this really is not the case. Yes, stupid things do happen sometimes. There are episodes that completely defy physics, and the last few episodes of the series beat science over the head with a rusty hammer. Even so, this is not a stupid series.
Are you sure about that?
There is a very real reason why these things happen. To understand this, you have to take a look at the history of Gainax, the company who produces Gurren Lagann. One of the first series that Gainax produced was Neon Genesis Evangelion. Evangelion was a deconstruction of the super robot shows that came before it, where those series were upbeat and fantastical and had a lot of nonsensical elements. Evangelion was hyper-realistic, depressing, and full of philosophy. Now, I personally haven't seen Evangelion myself, so I can't attest to the quality of the show, but it was certainly a change for anime at the time. Up until that point, super robot shows didn't have to be serious or logical, and all of a sudden we had a series that broke all the rules. Almost 13 years later, Gainax went back to the drawing board and brought us Gurren Lagann. Gurren Lagann is basically the anti-Evangelion. Where Eva served as a deconstruction of super robot shows, Gurren Lagann is a reconstruction of the themes and ideals that super robot shows once held. Gurren Lagann embodies the everything goes spirit of these early shows so much that it is directly part of the plot. You see, gunmen are fueled and controlled by fighting spirit, or in other words, gunmen are piloted by willpower. Yes, like the Green Lantern battery rings. The stronger your willpower is, the stronger your gunman can become. If your will is strong enough, you can do anything, even defy physics. Yes, the results can be somewhat ridiculous at times, but dear God, I love it so. Every time Simone or Kanna makes a speech about doing the impossible and defying the odds, they do it, and it just feels so damn epic. Because you're invested so much into these complex characters, you want them to succeed, and you actively cheer them on and want them to break physics to see them triumph in the end. I can honestly say that this is the most emotionally driven anime that I have ever watched. Throughout the course of this series, I cried numerous different times, and these weren't tears of sadness, these were tears of joy. No other anime has held this kind of impact on me, and I'm not sure if any other anime could. With that being said, Gurren Lagann is not just an emotionally driven series. It is very deep and philosophical if you take the time to really look at it. For example, throughout the anime, Kanna is actively telling Simone, don't believe in yourself. Believe in the me that believes in you. Yes, it sounds ridiculous at first, but let's just take a closer look at what Kanna is really saying. I believe in you, Simone. So believe in that belief. Before Simone can have confidence in himself, he has to gain that confidence from other people. The line tends to change throughout the course of the series, but it's always used to make Simone stand up for himself and believe in his own strength. For all the praise I've given the series, there are problems with it. There are 2 distinct episodes in the series that are completely pointless. Episode 4, the episode directed by Osamu Kobayashi, adds nothing to the series other than a few characters who just appear again 2 episodes later. While the episode is tolerable, it meanders around for half the episode, the villain is a complete joke, and the animation is pretty bad. I do, however, like the fact that Simone and Kanna have to train to combine again, which is pretty realistic and fits in with the series. Episode 6 is much worse. This episode consists of 1 part Hot Springs episode, 1 part horrible animation, In 50 parts, what the hell am I watching? One thing to note here is that this episode was highly edited for the TV broadcast, which is the version that I initially saw. Several scenes were censored because of the sexual content, and one scene in particular was removed and replaced by a clip show of the past few episodes. This is pretty bad, considering this is only the 6th episode of the series, and there's not too much clips to be found this early on in the series. While the original uncut episode is a bit less painful to watch, it's really not worth your time. In the end, though, that's only 2 bad episodes out of a 27-episode series, which isn't all that bad. Overall, Gurren Lagann is an amazing series. It's deep, it's inspiring, it's a visual marvel most of the time, and it never stops upping the ante. Yes, there are a few problems here and there, but this is only a small part of the whole. While it may not be for everyone, the series redefines the meaning of epic. The stakes and emotions are always high, and it's hard not to get invested in the plight of these characters. Yes, the science can be a bit ridiculous at times, especially when they're throwing around galaxies at each other. Yes, that actually happens. But it's all in the spirit of the Super Robot series of old. I give Gurren Lagann a full recommendation and hope that you enjoy it just as much as I do. I'm Zenith Warrior Princess, the cutest of buns, and I will see you guys next time. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe so that you too can join the Bun Squad, my legion of cute, fluffy bunny followers that interact with my videos. Thank you, everybody, and have a good day. Alright, everybody, before we leave, I would like to introduce you to the 2 newest members of the Bun Squad, Kanna and Chiaki, my wonderful, rambunctious, crazy little kitters. I love them with all my heart, and they are executive members of the Bun Squad. Kanna, with the pink bunny ears and the stripes, is head of recruitment for the Bun Squad, so if you would like to join as well, just hit her up. She is very, very friendly, but be careful, she is also very playful and might bite you. On the other hand, Chiaki is head of security for the Bun Squad. Because she doesn't like a lot of new people, she tends to run. You might be able to bribe her with some fish, but she is wonderful. No, wait, Kanna, what are you doing? Kanna, stop piloting Gurren Lagann. Kanna, stop piloting Gurren Lagann. Kanna, I told you, stop piloting Gurren Lagann. No, you are not. Your claws are not the claws that will pierce the heavens. Kanna.